My name is Dr. Jacqueline Williams with Capavella, and I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist, and I'm joined today with
Zach Dodson. I'm a licensed mental health counselor, certified hypnotherapist.
We're going to talk about the PPP scale within the TÄM app today, and we're really excited about it. And Zach, tell me a little bit about the PPP scale.
Right. Our goal was to create a scale that's going to measure the connection between our minds and our bodies. Every day we have an interaction between the two that's going to be guiding us through our everyday activities in such a way that's going to be mindful or it's going to be mindless. Some of us walk through life just reacting to the stimuli that are coming at us from every direction and every thing from our past to our projections into the future. And some of us, or all of us, have a difficulty siphoning out the things that are going to benefit us versus the things that are going to hinder us and make it so that we can't progress to our potential.
Okay. So I really like that idea of mindfulness or mindless, because we are, when we get or we experience something, and it doesn't have to be traumatic, we just go through life and experience anything, and it can be a positive emotion, it can be a negative emotion, it can be any type of an experience, we are going to react.
A stub toe.
A stub toe.
What does that do to our day? Waking up on the wrong side of the bed. What does that do to our day?
And so this PPP scale is going to be able to help build and bridge the gap, again, to build a toolbox to really feed to the need of mindfulness versus just plain reactionary.
And so it's going to measure the amount of mindfulness that we have, the amount of connection that we have between our consciousness and our bodies in order to give us some tools. Can you explain some of the tools?
Yeah, so these tools are, I'm a visual learner, so the idea of like building a toolbox is really what I want to do. So if people walk around with empty toolboxes, but they say, oh look, I got a toolbox. I'm like, yeah, but it's empty, so let's fill it up. So some of the toolbox or tools that we're going to be having to fill up your toolbox are within the app. And so once we take that PPP scale, we're going to be able to really fine tune and find tools specific to the app user, so it can really build, like you said, things that I think about, things that I say, things that I do, a thought that pops in my head. So we are going to be able to or be able to connect all of them and put them in our toolbox so that it's mindful, not reactionary.
So I'm not really an athlete, but what comes up in my head is if I'm going to be playing a sport, there's going to be some muscle memory that I have to learn in order to perform at my peak. Now, if we're going to apply that to the PPP in our minds, we have to have that muscle memory. Okay, when this crisis happens, this is how I react.
That's a really great thing about the PPP scale and the tools that we're building.
Right. They're
not just for elite athletes. They are for everybody on this bell curve of building a toolbox. Because yes, do elite athletes need mindfulness? Yes. If you walk into a boardroom, do you need mindfulness? Yes. If you stub your toe, would you benefit from some tools of mindfulness?
Being able to pay attention.
Absolutely. Being able to pay attention.
Yeah.
It's beneficial to everybody. So the idea of it's a fitness forward app, yes, but it's going to be a game changer for everybody.
A mindfulness forward app too.
Mindfulness forward app.
A mental fitness forward app.
Absolutely.
So I'm thinking about this for my career.
Okay.
I own a private practice in mental health.
Okay.
And it's a fairly big private practice. And the amount of personnel issues that I have to deal with on a daily basis is this emotion.
Yes, I see that. I see it all over. Yes. And the deep breath, the body language of the deep breath. Yes.
How is specifically this app and this scale going to help me perform at my peak when I'm dealing with some of my employees maybe not performing at their peak?
So I really like that perspective, because one of the things that I love about this app is the idea of this sense of community.
Right.
So not only can you use the app, but every single one of your employees can use the app. And now we've created a whole different sense of community and support and movement. As clinicians, that's what we do all day long, is try to create movement. So when you have these skills of now having mindfulness, we're not making little steps of movement. We're making more movement, both at a conscious and an unconscious level.
So it's going to teach me and my staff, first through me, how to
Absolutely.
pay attention in the moment to what my and our goals are
Absolutely.
in order to, for everybody, the team, to,
The team, yeah.
I got stuck on the TÄM app, to make it so that we can all work together to meet our full potential.
Absolutely. That's the goal. That's the plan. And it starts with the PPP Scale to create some really amazing and game-changing movement in anybody's life, not just the elite athletes.
So it's pretty essential that anybody that's going to be using the app, anybody that's going to be interested in physical fitness, anybody that's going to be interested in performing at their peak mental performance, that they participate as much as possible in the app.
It's just like anything else. You can't, I remember you saying one time, you can't, you have to prepare for a PT test. You can't cram it in a day. You have to take it step by step. And that's what this is going to be doing. It's step by step into very manageable activities and engagement within the app, so that it trains your brain to be within that parasympathetic nervous system, so that we create really huge movement.
So just in case anybody doesn't know, PT, I work a lot with the military from a mental health perspective, but also from a performance perspective.
Absolutely.
I see a lot of guys that are not just dealing with like PTSD, but they're dealing with all the effects of making sure that they're the best leader, the best soldier that they can possibly be.
And we're talking men and women, correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thanks. And in that ability to perform, there are certain like benchmarks that they have to meet, and those benchmarks that they have to meet are both physical, psychological, but also like performance in their job. And what you were just saying is how does somebody perform at that level? So basically what you were saying is a PT test. You can't cram for a PT test.
Right.
You have to put in the work in before, during, and after all of your performances to make sure that you can do it. I had somebody one time tell me that he didn't think that pull-ups were going to be on his PT test.
Really?
And so he didn't do pull-ups.
Like at all?
At all.
Didn't train for it. Okay.
And he failed the PT test because he didn't do enough pull-ups. I believe that it's the same thing when it comes to our mental fitness.
Okay.
If we're training our bodies, if we're training our time, if we're training our schedule, if we're training at our work, if we're training at all of those things, but we're not paying attention to the effect that stuff has on our psyche, we're gonna fail. We're gonna be training to fail. We have to pay attention to that, which is why mindfulness is so important.
100%.
So the PPP. The PPP is a scale that's defined by three pillars of what we believe is going to bring up the peak performance in a person. So that's preparing, it's practicing, and it's performing. Preparing is how do we use our brains and our bodies in order to prepare for what comes next. It's the practice. Do we have healthy practicing techniques? Do we have techniques that are going to be built in that push us into our peak performance? And then finally, it's like, how are we performing? What are we learning from our performance? How are we using that performance for whatever's next?
And really being able to perform at a different level because of all the tools that you have.
Exactly.
So one of the things that I love about this app, and that we're really proud to bring, is a lot of apps are out there where it's just a fitness app, or it's just a mindfulness app, or it's just a community-based app. This is the one app that embodies, yes, it's fitness, yes, it's mindfulness, but it also adds a sense of community.
Right.
It adds a sense of engagement and support and accountability. So you take all these 5 different apps that everybody has on their phone, and now we need one. It's all together because it creates a community, engagement, support, and some really good movement within its users.
And the research is there too.
Absolutely. So I'm a little bit of a research junkie. I love to read different research articles. Sometimes, I call you, I'm like, hey, I found this article, and you're like, okay, sure, yeah, okay. So one of the things that I really find interesting and quite fascinating is this idea of motivational interviewing and technology-assisted motivational interviewing.
Which are techniques.
Which are 100% techniques.
Okay.
And of the research that is out there, literature says it's about engagement. It's about feeling connected, which that in itself, if you can embody those, it creates stages of change, or growth in stages of change.
Right.
So somebody who might be like, I don't really want to do anything. Once we have this engagement, once we have this ability to create a community, research shows that you start to say, I don't want to do anything, to I kind of do want to do something, but I don't know what, and then moves you along.
And these techniques are there to help us not just be dependent on willpower.
Absolutely.
Not just be dependent on trying harder, working harder, putting our heads down and running into a brick wall.
Does that really work?
No.
That's what the diet industry is so great at, because they're so temporary. This is really creating change over time. So it's not, oh, I don't have the motivation. Oh, I wish I had the motivation like you.
So it's about a lifestyle. It's about a lifestyle change.
It's a lifestyle change, but from a different lens than just exercising or just linking what we think to what we do and how we feel.
Right.
Plus you wrap in that accountability. I'm on there with my friends. I get to have challenges, and we set goals together all the time. And I don't like it when you win, so I make sure that I win. And we're doing all these things together. So now we're in it together. I do it with my husband. I do it with my old teammates. I do it with everybody.
Yeah.
And so that creates that sense of that motivational interviewing that creates movement and change within the user.
That's great.
My name is Javian. I've been a part of the TÄM app since day one, since the beginning. I was part of the beta testing team back in May. So yeah, it's been a while. My favorite part about the app is, to be honest, I like the camaraderie. I'm the type of person, I don't work out without people around me. So it kind of gives me a way to have the socialization of working with people without actually them being there. Because without that, I'm a person that will not work out at all. I have no motivation, no self-motivation, so the TÄM app pushes me, gives me that sense of, having people around me even though they're not really around me. So that's the best thing about the app to me. During these challenging times, the whole COVID stuff and the whole time, all gyms were shut down, so the TÄM app really helped me out a lot because, like I said back before, I wasn't able to work out with people, and if I don't have people to work out with, I wouldn't work out at all. So the TÄM app keep me connected, and I was able to connect with people and still able to work out and get pushed from a distance, even though you can't be near no one. So it's kind of good to have the TÄM app keeps you connected in all facets of it. So it helps push me, push them, all these challenges, these start challenges, end challenges, and it helps a lot more than, for me, it helped me more than anything, to be honest. I had a lot of my friends join the app, and since I had them join, I started challenges, it's like fitness goals, all kind of good stuff that helps them growth and help me grow. They push me and I push them. So the whole process of it has been very helpful. And we started challenging from steps, strength training, anything you could possibly think of, like mileage. Like I don't even like to run. And because of the TÄM app, it pushed me to run, like logging miles, like certain miles per month. So it's actually helped me more than anything, like from a distance. Because without that, trust me, I would not get off my couch and run at all. Especially during COVID, I'd be on that couch all day. When the TÄM app released the watch version, it was a game changer. Personally for me, because I have my watch on at all times. All my workouts, I log on my watch. Before I had to use the phone, and it wasn't as easy to use it. But now with the TÄM app on the watch, it's like night and day. Like all I need to do is start the app, gets going. I ain't gotta step aside, do nothing. Just start the app, start, stop, and you could even start it, switch the workout midway through. It's a total game changer. It made life 10 times easier. so much more efficient. And like I said, it's been nothing but the best since I started using the watch. I have a watch. Some of my friends don't have the watch, but it's like I said, it's still comparable. For instance, my mom doesn't have the watch. I have the watch. I still challenge her and stuff. Walks around the park, around the block. All you need to do is have the phone on her. She walks around the block. It all comes in handy. It all connects. It's all interchangeable. So everything on the watch you can see it on your phone. So you can use both hand in hand. Works perfectly. All the challenges I've done, it's been fantastic. But my favorite challenge of all that been released and what I participated in was the actual mileage running one. I don't like to run, so that literally pushed me to get off my couch, like I said, and do more than I normally would ever do. So that was my favorite thing. It literally, you communicate it to tell you like, all right, time you get up, you're missing time to get some miles in, you know what I mean? You need to do a certain amount of miles for the day. And then the good thing about the TÄM app, it gives you the opportunity, you can see your progress go. So it turns from green to red to yellow, so you can see how far are you from your goal, and it helps you out the whole way through. So seeing that progress go, it actually pushes you to make you keep on going. Like you know you're close, you know you're in the red, you know you're in the green, so it makes you keep on pushing forward. And see the progress is what, I like to see progress. I like to see numbers, and I like to see things grow. So if I don't see the progress, then I'm more reluctant not to do it, but the fact that I can see the progress in the app it's a big difference to me. And when I was doing that challenge, I could see all that stuff, so it actually helped me out a lot more. One of the cool things about the app is when I create a challenge, I could add the honeycombs to my home screen, and I could literally track it and see exactly what's going on, and I can literally follow like a leaderboard. That's the best part. And also about the challenges I like about the leaderboard, you can even have chats internally in the challenge, and you can literally chat with people in the challenge through it, and you actually could keep track and push each other while you're in the challenge. Like that's just the instant message right between everybody in the challenge can see it. That's the best part about it. So you can literally like not trash talk, but motivate each other through right in between that challenge, every single challenge you do. So every individual challenge, you have your own like chats for every single challenge. So it's kind of, you're socializing and you're connecting all in one. So it's actually best of both worlds. The best thing about being a good friend of the CEO is to get the nice, good merch. The quality is A1. Like literally, I think I have every single merch that literally came out. Like I'm like number one on the list when new merch come out. So like I said, the shirts are comfortable, it's breathable, lightweight, it's sweat resistant. Like it's not sweat resistant, but you could sweat in it, and it's like perfect. Like you could move in it, no problem. It's awesome stuff. My favorite shirt is the red one, the old school logo, the original, like very first one from back in the day, like when it first came out. And I was like one of the first ones to get one of the shirts, and I love it because it literally tells you what TÄM stands for. TÄM stands for, so it's to excel, accountability matters. And that exemplifies exactly everything that I need, because I need that accountability, that help, that push, the extra push drives me more than anything. Because without that, I would promise you I would not be pushing myself as hard as possible. So I appreciate that more than anything.
Hi, I'm Zach Dodson with Capavella. I'm a licensed mental health counselor and a certified clinical hypnotherapist.
I'm Dr. Jacqueline Williams, and I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist.
One thing that I wanted to talk about real quick
Yeah.
was learn limitations. How we can get in the mindset of being in a situation after injury,
Okay.
whether that be physical injury, whether that be psychological injury, or whatever. Things don't go our way.
Mm-hmm.
And we go from, I do this thing and then I'm successful, to I do this thing, I become injured.
And those are the only options.
That's what our brain does.
Okay.
Is that we look at it from the perspective of what's the outcome of this thing. And once there's an injury, we think that that's always going to be the outcome.
Right. Okay.
And we create this psychological suggestion for ourselves based on the activity.
Mm-hmm.
So when it comes to like athletes, but really anybody, what happens is that you have a physical injury. you sprain your ankle, you break a leg, you get injured. And then it's very, very difficult to go back to that same performance level without what we call overcoming the injury. But what that really means is no longer having the suggestion of when I do this, then I'm going to be injured. And one of the things that I really like about the tools that we're hopefully going to be teaching in the TÄM App is what we can do psychologically to meet our peak performance after injury. And make sure that we're mentally fit enough to not accept those suggestions that could come at us, maybe when we're not even injured.
Is that a normal part of the process of your brain to want to go towards the potential is I might get injured again? Is that a natural part of the brain?
Yeah, that's the part of us that wants to stay safe. It's the part of us that wants to make sure that we don't do too much. It's the part of us that makes sure that we're protecting what we've already gained, rather than striving for more.
Okay.
And so the aspect of learn limitations is that, like, if you can think about, like, there's a box or a circle or something like that, and in that circle is our actual limitations. And because, like, we do have actual limitations. Mm-hmm. Our actual limitations are, like, I can't go back to high school and redo some of the silly things that I said back then.
So I'm sure there are quite a few.
There's so many.
Yes.
And I have the actual limitations of not being able to do that.
Okay.
But what happens in everyday life is that I kind of try. I kind of try to make it so that I can go back and repair those injuries, those missteps, those things that maybe I regret. And so how I do that is I create that like a little boundary around going too far. So it's like I can never go back to that space. I never want to go back to that space. And that's what creates the limitation here today, right now, when it has no business being here. And so meeting peak performance means not in any way, or in as few ways as possible, letting my life succumb to these boundaries and living in that larger life that is my real limitations for today, not the limitations from yesterday, not the limitations from way back when.
Gotcha. It's interesting, that idea and that vision of boundaries, of what those boundaries do. Like, I almost see them as sometimes, well, I'm not going to do this because this boundary keeps me safe, or this boundary keeps me over here, and I know I have the potential here, but no, I'm going to stay over here because this boundary is set from.
I'm not gonna go for that job. I'm not gonna go for that personal record.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna do that because maybe I can't. And now I've set a learned limitation.
And so what changes in the brain to go from I can't to maybe I'm going to try, or maybe I can, but what happens? How do we get there?
Consciousness and mindfulness in every moment.
Okay.
And so it's me being conscious instead of going back to, well, I need to make sure that thing in the past doesn't happen again.
Right.
And so if I have the tools to say, okay, what's going to ground me today?
Those conscious tools.
Conscious tools, yeah.
Okay.
I'm going to be intentional about what I do today, what I do right now, what I do in my routine to make it so that my routine is pushing me towards success rather than those limitations.
Gotcha. Love it.
And this is where we really get into these micro habits.
Okay. Explain what a micro habit is.
It's a small little habit that could be so simple. Something like how, not even if, but how I brush my teeth in the morning. And based on how I brush my teeth in the morning, it can have the butterfly effect out to suggesting success or failure in my day.
Love it.
And a lot of people don't really think about this, but it's like waking up on the wrong side of the bed. It's like recovery today from going out and drinking too much yesterday. It's making sure that I have the workout today that I need to make sure that I can meet my goals tomorrow. And it's these small little habits that somebody can encourage or discourage. And based on the trajectory of, well, actually, let me explain it like this. If I have a goal and I work that goal backwards to the moment right now, micro suggestions are going to be all the things that happen in between now and that goal. Micro habits. And a lot of times what happens is that people will get discouraged, take a path off the road,
Right.
and never meet that goal because they woke up on the wrong side of the bed, because they stubbed their toe. Something so simple, but it's something that made it so that the trajectory of all of these habits shifted in a different direction.
So how do you think these team tools within the TÄM app will help really acknowledge those micro baby steps to that goal? How do you think that would help?
Yeah, one of the things that we have to practice, and I was thinking about this the other day, is like how much energy goes into our physical bodies, into our careers, how much energy goes into our hobbies and all of those things, but how little energy we add to training our brains.
Right. Yes.
And
All
so
day.
having this habit of, I'm going to spend some time training my brain today to be conscious right now, to be aware right now, is something that most of us may never actually pay much attention to.
Right. I love that. It's because so many times we get busy and we'll say, "Oh, I'll do it later. I'll do it after work. I'll do it." But the idea of being able to do it while you're brushing your teeth, which is something that we do anyway, it's right here, right now, in this moment. That's going to get me on this trajectory towards my goal.
Right. And doing it consciously and having a regiment of it, and having a tool that I implement on a daily basis. And when I'm talking about tools, we're talking about tools like going to the gym. The gym is a tool for our physical fitness. Most of us don't have tools for that mental training. And so what we'd like to provide is the ability for people to have more accessible tools in a community that's going to encourage them to not accept learned limitations and to live to their potential, that is their real limitations, like meeting the maximum amount of potential that they have.
And that potential is endless.
Yeah.
Once you remove those boundaries, remove all of those roadblocks, it almost seems more manageable, more doable, more achievable.
When it's conscious, it becomes a lot more easy.
Hi, my name is Dr. Jacqueline Williams with Capavella, and I am a licensed marriage and family therapist by trade. And I'm joined today by
Zach Dodson. I'm a licensed mental health counselor, certified clinical hypnotherapist, and trauma specialist.
All right, well, welcome. And so today I want to talk to you a little bit about survival brain and learning brain.
Right.
And so these are two topics that and terminology that I use when I am teaching with clients or students. And so there's two types of your brain. There's a survival brain and a learning brain. And just envision this little scenario. So think about a herd of elephants and a calf is born. And this is actually true. So when a calf is born, all of the adult elephants line up around the calf when the calf is born. And so envision that picture in your brain of all these adult elephants surrounding this baby calf that was just born.
Okay.
So when the adult elephants are there around the elephant, think about what the capacity is of this baby elephant. What is the calf capable of doing? Not much. But are they afraid of something that's lurking in the distance? Can they play?
Okay.
Can they learn? Can they let their guard down? Absolutely. So now think of that picture, and now think about that same calf, but with no adult elephants around. And so what happens is that calf has trained its brain because it has to survive. It has to be aware of what's around the corner. It has to be aware of potential dangers.
A lion.
It has to be afraid of a lion. It has to be afraid. It can't play. It can't roll around in mud to get cool. It can't just frolic around. It has to be on guard all the time. So when you think about learning brain and survival brain, the survival brain is the elephant that's sitting there by themselves. And the learning brain gets created because they have safety, because they can, because they have protection. So when I started learning about this and these two different sides, it's actually the way that your brain works. So there's two different parts of your brain.
Right.
There's a sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic nervous system. So I know this can get a little wordy, but bear with me, I got you. So what happens is we've all heard of this fight, flight, or freeze.
Right.
So when we get triggered into flight, or freeze, it's because our brain perceives, and actually there's this little almond-shaped part of your brain that's like right back here. It's an almond shape. It's called your amygdala. So that amygdala part of your brain, I like to call like the watchdog and the ninja. So anytime that survival brain, which is really called your sympathetic nervous system.
Okay.
So once that gets triggered, once that amygdala goes and the watchdog goes, hey, threat, there's a lion, then that's what our bodies do to react. And we as humans do it, not just that little calf. So when we perceive a threat, what happens in your body? Your heart rate gets jacked, your blood pressure, you start to sweat. Your brain goes into survival brain.
Right.
And so all that rational ability to think and go, okay, that's not a lion. I'm not being chased by a lion. That is a butterfly. I can manage that, right? So in that point, when our sympathetic nervous system gets triggered, our body reacts. But what happens is we don't really acknowledge that it's happening. It's unconscious and it just happens, and all these things get jacked up.
And sometimes we even fight it.
We absolutely fight it and do my favorite phrase of, I'm fine. We hear that in our office all the time, right? I'm fine. And we can look at somebody physically and go, no, you're really not. So let's talk about it. But what's happening in that moment is the sympathetic nervous system is being jacked. There was actually this study, I don't think they're allowed to do it anymore, but they showed people videos, and intermittently there was a blue square in the videos that these people were watching. Do you know this study?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
So every time that they saw subliminally the blue square, they would get shocked.
Right.
So
they're gonna get scared.
So I'm gonna kind of brace for impact of being shocked, right? So when I see a blue square, I'm gonna go, oh, okay, it's coming. It's okay, I got shocked, I'm okay. But I perceive that as my threat. So I'm bracing. So my hands get sweaty, my heart rate goes up. I don't think clearly because I'm not watching the video anymore. I'm preparing for the lion. I'm preparing for the blue square. So then what they did later on in the study is they were really mean and they showed the video, but it was subliminal. It wasn't outright. So what they did is their body reacted, even though they didn't cognitively know, look, there's a blue square.
They had no idea.
They had no idea, but their brain knew because that amygdala lit up and their body went, ah! And they all went, well, I feel it, it's in my body, but I don't know why I'm reacting that way.
Right.
It's because the sympathetic nervous system was reacting. So here's where it's really cool. So we have two parts, two divisions of our nervous system, the sympathetic and the parasympathetic. Fight, flight, or freeze happens when our sympathetic nervous system gets activated.
Right.
We cannot, as people, sustain in that capacity. We cannot stay in survival brain. That is what leads to depletion.
And a trauma response.
And a trauma response, absolutely. So let's just take elite athletes, for example. A lot of athletes will say, I need my adrenaline. I get a really great adrenaline rush and I perform very well when I'm in my sympathetic nervous system.
Isn't that good?
It is. But you know I answer every question that anyone could ever ask me with two sweet little words. It depends.
Right.
Because we need that. We can't say I want to get rid of all of my sympathetic nervous system because that's not sustainable either. But elite athletes use that part. But the problem is we as elite athletes don't know how to come back down and activate the parasympathetic part of the nervous system.
The safe one.
I'm sorry?
The safe one.
The safe one. I want, instead of safe, I want you to think about the recovery one.
Recovery, okay.
So when we have the recovery part, we actually burn more calories. We absorb nutrients from food better because our body's not fighting for a lion. It's not fighting. It's going, oh, okay, so now I can absorb because I can relax and I can recover quicker because I've now activated that parasympathetic nervous system.
So you're saying basically that a recovery is not just physiological, it's also psychological.
It's psychological, yes. And so many athletes come to me and say, okay, this is all great. Make it happen, what do I do?
Right.
And I say, this is the only thing that you need to do. And I say only because it is really something that it's incredibly doable for elite athletes, is we have to put skills in of mindfulness.
Right.
Once we have an awareness of, oh, I now know my heart rate, I feel my blood pressure, I feel my sweaty hands, I feel these, okay, my body's reacting. Once we feel that, we have to acknowledge and not do the I'm fine. So then we can understand and we can build a toolbox, so to speak, with TÄM App, because there's team tools in there to help retrain your brain to recovery.
And that's kind of where the PPP scale, the
Absolutely.
3P scale comes into play,
Yes.
because it's going to measure that.
It measures, so the PPP scale will measure where you are. It'll help measure to see where you are and how you react to things. Do I react to whatever it is that's in the outskirts? Is that a threat or is that a challenge? If I react everything to a threat, then I'm always going to be activating my sympathetic nervous system. If I have the mindfulness to say, okay, that is a challenge, not a threat, and I am absolutely capable at managing a challenge.
Right.
And I stay within my parasympathetic nervous system consciously, because the nervous system is an unconscious part of our body. It goes from our brain to our gut. So you know the saying of trust your gut? Well, it's like literally, it's a reason, because there's a nervous, vagal nerve goes to your gut.
Right.
So when we trust our gut and we retrain our brain, it's kind of like an injury. You're an athlete, so when you get an injury, you have to recover. You have to retrain it. You have to be able to go and take steps, baby steps, which is exactly what the team tools are going to train your brain to do, so that you can then differentiate and go, okay, I know I need to activate this part of my brain for this activity, for this sport, for this meeting in the boardroom, for this when I walk on the court, when I walk into this classroom, when I walk into whatever. I know I need this, but I also know, and I have the conscious decision to say, I also need this, because if we don't stimulate the parasympathetic part of our nervous system, that leads to depletion
And atrophy.
and atrophy, not strength. When we are when we're in only the sympathetic, it leads to depletion and not strength. When we can activate the parasympathetic nervous system, we recover, we absorb everything. So it makes elite athletes perform better, because that part of their brain can now think rationally versus, oh my gosh, and I can't run this race. My heart rate's I'm too tired. I'm not gonna make it. I'm only 15 miles in and I'm running a marathon. And then we can use those tools to say, wait, yes, I can lower my heart rate. Yes, I can do this.
Or if you're in the boardroom and you're getting ready to give a presentation,
Absolutely.
and you're going to be so nervous about your boss listening to you, and so nervous about what it's going to mean for your career, and so nervous about what it's going to mean for your paycheck and all of that other stuff.
Absolutely. We activate the parasympathetic nervous system, and you will notice the difference in your body, because you're able to recover, train, and build muscle. That's when you recover.
So it's kind of like training an elite athlete to not only get their body in shape, but their mind in shape.
We spend a lot of time training our bodies.
Right.
A lot of time. Elite
Right.
athletes, or the non-athlete, or just someone in the middle. We train a lot on our body, and we forget about that sweet parasympathetic nervous system that goes to the psychological part of our brain to make us faster, to make us more efficient, to make everyday challenges just that. It's a challenge, not a threat. That baby elephant can live in learning brain when we activate the parasympathetic nervous system.
Right.